Google recruiter reached out to me over LinkedIn and shared me the job description that we have an opening over here in Google Canada and it's with GCP if you are interested to apply.
What advice would you give to students interested in DevOps?
I would say don't rush into the thing. The roadmap that I share, it could take 6 months to 1 year. Sometimes it could take more than that. And make sure that you are presentable enough. So getting skills is one thing, but then you have to showcase your skills as well. Otherwise, recruiter or hiring manager wouldn't know that you have those skills. I never really had a vision or a goal to get 100k subscriber or that many subscribers. My goal was simple. My goal was to publish the valuable content.
So, welcome to a Tech Pravachan with Mohit, where you get in-depth, personal or exclusive information that we can't get elsewhere. Today on our channel, we are excited to welcome Piyush Sachdeva. Piyush is a technical solutions developer at Google in Canada with a deep expertise in cloud technologies, DevOps, and multi-cloud platform. He is actively sharing his knowledge in his popular YouTube channel, Tech Tutorials with Piyush, fellow alumni of Graphic Era University. Piyush is here to share insights on his tech journey, career in DevOps, and his experiences working internationally. So, welcome Piyush, and please tell about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mohit. Thank you for inviting me. It's been always a pleasure talking to like-minded individuals. And now that I know you are also, alumni of Graphic Era, like where I have did my graduation from. So it's good to talk to you. And yeah, I know it's been a long time that we were trying to, set up this podcast, but because we are in totally opposite time zones, so our timings were not matching for quite few days. But anyways, thank you for inviting me. Hello everyone, my name is Piyush, and I have 12 plus years of experience working with IT. And for the past 7 8 years I'm working with cloud and DevOps. Before that, when I started my journey into tech, I started with production support, and then I transitioned from one role to another. So I worked as a DevOps specialist, cloud engineer, DevOps tech lead, and now I'm working as a technical solutions developer at Google Canada, where the role is specific to cloud engineering, and my area of expertise is the Google Kubernetes engine, GKE, and DevOps tools that are there within GCP cloud. And I have a YouTube channel. It's called Tech Tutorials with Piyush. As the name suggests, I publish tutorials on different tools, technologies specific to cloud and DevOps. So all three clouds: AWS, Azure, GCP, and then all the DevOps related technologies. Jenkins, Azure DevOps, Kubernetes. So that's what I do. I also am a AWS community builder and a HashiCorp ambassador for my active contribution in AWS and HashiCorp community, especially with Terraform. So yeah, that's about me.
Could you share how you started your journey in tech?
Yeah, so I would say I'm not because even though the role says technical solutions developer, but I'm not actually a developer. I don't actually work on application development. The major role is helping enterprise customers in fixing their cloud specific issues and helping them with their day-to-day tasks and so on. And apart from that, we also work on some automation, some open source tools. So that's the only part where the development happens. But majorly, I work with cloud and DevOps. That's what I do. So when I started my journey into tech, it was, as I said, it was a production support role. It was with the Accenture in Pune, India, and I worked there for around 4 years in the same role. I learned about Unix, shell scripting. I never really learned any programming language at that time, but I was lucky enough that DevOps was introduced in my project. I guess it was 2014, somewhere around that. So it's been 10 years that I was first introduced with DevOps tools and technologies, and from there I started working with those things. And then I moved from that role to another company, which is, again, it was in Pune, Amdocs, and over there I was working as a level 3 support engineer. Again, there was not much of an application development. It was mostly I was mostly working on bug fixes or small changes into the application code. So that's what I was doing. I recently started doing coding with Python, but again, I'm not an application developer. I use the programming language to automate stuff, to helps me work as part of my day-to-day job responsibilities, and something other than that. So that's the only part.
So, what was it like working with major financial institutions like CIB and Citi in Canada?
It was a great experience because when you work with a fintech company, especially with the bank. So I worked with CIBC Bank, I worked with Citibank, I worked with Bank of Montreal. All three was banks. So banks
Mm-hmm.
have their own set of audit and compliance. They have strict security policies when it comes to data and any access for that matter of fact. So it actually helps you understand how it is like working in a controlled environment where every task that you do is governed by a certain set of rules and protocols. There is a lot of emphasis on security, whether it's data security or infrastructure security or anything else. And there also is a lot of automation around that happens, like policy as a code, security as a code. Many tools are being implemented to mitigate or to proactively detect DDoS attacks, for example, or any malware attack. It's always a great experience working with a financial institution. So if anyone ever get a chance, you should definitely work with one. I mean, it helps you a lot in growing your career because now you know how banks and fintech companies work on their regulations, their compliance, and so on. So it's a great experience. Yeah.
So, how you got an opportunity in Canada and why you think to move to Canada?
I actually, like, there was no reason why I moved to Canada. It was just like when I was working in India because I was not skilled enough, I would say. So I was not getting a good package, a package in which I could survive, in which I could see my future. So I thought maybe let's try something else. Let's try to move to a different country where I can earn more, I can save more. With that thought in mind, I came to Canada. So there is a process of permanent residency. We applied on that, and then I moved over here. But the tricky part was when I moved over here, I had to quit my job back in Pune, right? So I came here as unemployed, and I was like, I barely had savings, so I only had some savings that I took with me. So I came here and I started looking for a job aggressively. So I started doing that, and I kept myself upskilling while I was looking for job, and that's what I was doing for around 15-17 days. And on the 17th day, I still remember it because it was a hard time for me to each day I was counting each day till I was not getting a job. So on the 17th day of my arrival here in Canada, I got my first job, which was with Citibank. It was a walk-in
Mm-hmm.
drive. I walked in there, and there were around 70-80 people along with me. First, I was really afraid how I'm gonna compete with all these professionals, and many were really experienced than me. So I thought, let's give it a try. Let give my best, and I'll leave rest up to the fate and destiny. So that's what I did. There were around 2-3 rounds, and everything happened in a single day. And luckily, on the next day, they told me that they are going ahead with the employment. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's how I got my first job in Canada, and then I stayed there for around 9 months. But while I was there in Citibank, one thing was sure in my mind, that I don't have to continue doing production support because it was a production support role, something that I wanted to move away from. But at the same time, I also wanted to get started somewhere, right? Moving to a different country with no saving in hand, and a lot of expenses happens around that time. So I just wanted a job to get started with. So that's why I accepted that role. That's why I joined this. But at the same time, it was clear in my mind that I have to either go to a DevOps or cloud role. So that's what I started preparing after I joined the job. I prepared around 9 months continuously. I learned a lot of things. At that time, I'm talking about 2017, there were only a few content on the YouTube channels, not really much like it is nowadays. So at that time, I took some Udemy courses around Jenkins, around Python, Kubernetes, Terraform, and all those things. I did some certifications. I built some good projects, and that's how I got my first job in CIBC as a DevOps consultant. And then from there, I moved from one role to another and to a different company.
Initially in Canada, you are in a tourist visa.
No. It's a PR. It's
Uh,
permanent resident. So I was a permanent resident. I had the work authorization, and it's
Before joining the Citibank.
yeah. So that's like I came here as a PR.
Okay.
Yeah, not on the tourist visa. I came as a permanent resident, and because there is a process. You apply to it, you give IELTS, and then based
Yeah.
on different points that you get, based on your exam score, based on your education, based on your work experience, your age, all those things, there is a CRS score that's been calculated, and you enter into a pool of all the where all the candidates are there. Then based on the draws that they open, you get
Hmm.
invitation to apply. You submit your document. There is a process, and then you get your PR. So earlier it was much simpler because there was not much competition. I would say today, like it's very difficult to get a PR without a job offer in Canada. But I came here in 2016 or 17, so it was a much simpler process back then.
can you say your Google journey, or how many interview rounds are there, and how you got an opportunity in Google?
So with Google, what happened? Because as I've said, I was actively contributing to my to my YouTube channel through my blog post. I was active on LinkedIn. So there was a good visibility for me on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. So Google recruiter reached out to me over LinkedIn and shared me the job description that we have an opening over here in Google Canada, and it's with GCP if you are interested to apply. So it was overwhelming for me because I never thought of applying to Google. I never had the courage that I could, even clear one round of Google. I was really low in self-esteem before that. Then I thought, okay, let's give it a try. Then I told the recruiter that I never worked with GCP. I worked with
Okay.
AWS and Azure, but never with GCP. So he said it's okay. Like if you have worked with one cloud, you should be able to transition to another cloud without any issue. So that's not an issue for them. I thought okay,
Hmm.
and I thought like I'm not good at DSA, so if there's gonna be any DSA round, so they said because this is not an entry level job. Plus, it's not into the core application development. It's into cloud, right? So there won't be any DSA round. So there are certain roles like there are program managers, product managers, there are technical solutions developer like this one. In India, it's called technical solution engineer or technical solution specialist, TSC or TSS. There is technical account manager, there is cloud architect or cloud solution architect, right? These roles does not have a DSA round even with Google. So that was such a relief knowing that. So I thought, okay, let's give it a try. So I gave my 100%. I did everything. I prepared everything. So there was first round was just the initial screening round with the HR over the phone.
Hmm.
Then there were around 4 to 5 rounds back to back in a single day. Okay, there was 10 minutes of gap between each round, and the rounds were there was one role related knowledge, which is also called RRK1. Okay, RRK1 is mostly the technical round around Linux troubleshooting, and where they give some scenarios, and you have to walk through them. Then there was a GCA round. GCA is general cognitive ability, in which they actually see how good you are at troubleshooting. How do you approach the problem rather than solving it, right? So again, there were some scenarios given. I cannot give the example of scenarios, but there were some scenarios given where you have to walk them through the step you would take to troubleshoot the issue. Okay, so the emphasis was on how do you approach a problem rather than solving it. So there could be multiple ways of solving a problem, right? They want to know which path would you take. So that those were the two rounds. Then there was a code troubleshooting round where they gave a code snippet in the preferred programming language of your choice. Okay, and you have to debug the code. I wouldn't say it was an easy code snippet, at least for me. So it was medium to a hard level code, right? And you have
Hmm.
to walk them through what each line of code is doing, right? And where are the bugs. You have to identify the bugs and fix it, and any follow up questions or any follow up tasks that they have related to that particular coding snippet. Okay, that was there. Then there was RRK1, then there was RRK2, role related knowledge. In that, there was all the technical questions, and this time it includes cloud, DevOps, and all the other things as well. And then there was a
Okay.
final round which was with the manager, hiring manager, and it's called googliness and leadership round. In that, so
Mm-hmm.
there are like 10 Google philosophies. So based on that, they ask you certain questions. So these are either behavioral questions or hypothetical questions, right? Like, tell me a time when this happened. How did you overcome the situation? What did you do at that time? So that's an example of behavioral question. And then there was some hypothetical questions in which they would ask, let's assume you are a manager in a team and this happens. What will you do? Right. So there are questions
Okay.
based on your past experience and based on the hypothetical scenarios that what will happen if such situation arise. And they actually evaluate you based on the, so there is no right and wrong answer in that. So they evaluate the way you understand the situation, the way you handle the situation, and you frame your answer. It has to be closely aligned with the philosophies that they have. So that was that round. And yeah, I mean, those were the main rounds. And then after that, there was holiday season. So hiring was quite slow. Everyone goes on holidays during November, December time. So got to know about the next step, I guess, in January or February. So yeah, and then they discuss the package, offer details, and that's how I got my job.
So if someone is preparing for a Google interview, so what advice you will give to them?
I would say, like, it totally depends on the type of role that they are applying to, but there are certain things that are common. So I would tell the things that are common. First is
Mm-hmm.
googliness and leadership. So that's the common round whether you apply for any role in Google. So that will always be there. So prepare that. Then understand the core values of Google, how they work, what are the main things
When
that they
yes, yes.
ask, or
Mm-hmm.
the main tools or technologies that they are using. So maybe do some research about the company. That's what I would say. The other thing is, if you, like, there are many cases where people have said they have a strong resume, but and they have applied through referral, through the career site, but they never really, their resume was never really accepted. So for
Mm-hmm.
that, I would say, go to the Google's YouTube channel, and they have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of videos about how do we craft a resume for Google, or how do we prepare for Google, how do we hire at Google. So check out those videos. Those are very informative. Those are the videos that I followed as well, like, to understand the hiring process and everything. So understand those
Mm-hmm.
things, and then prepare your resume according to that. The other important thing is, if you are considering a job at, or a future prospect job at Google, they put a lot of emphasis on your contribution to the tech community, right? So it could be contribution through your blogs, it could be contribution through your tutorials, through your public speaking sessions, through your open source contribution, through your contribution to community groups such as Google Developer Experts,
Community.
GDE,
Mm-hmm.
or GSOC, Google Summer of Code, or there are many other, right? So they do value these contributions. They do understand how important it is to do the open source community contribution, because that's one of their core values, to do things for the community. So if you know, the Kubernetes platform itself, it was created by Google, and then later they open sourced it. And not just this, there are many other projects that they have built in house. They have used it in house for a long time, and then they open source it, and now it is being maintained by the open source community. So try to do something that sets you apart from other candidates. Try to do some of these contributions, try to be actively involved in some of these communities, and that will definitely help you getting a interview at Google, and be in good books of a Google recruiters. So these are all the things that you need.
So how would you approach problem solving for enterprise clients at Google, especially in DevOps and Kubernetes?
Okay, so what happens is, when any enterprise client, they face any issue, they raise an incident with us, and based on the severity, we
Mm-hmm.
actually collect some data. So we do have access to their projects, but it's limited access. It's mostly the read-only access that we get on their project. And if we need any additional details, we ask them. We ask them certain logs or any other details, like about the issue specifically, and then we
Mm-hmm.
start looking into it. So if the issue is, if their environment is really complex, we try to rely on logs, looking at logs and looking at which log to check. That is really important for any troubleshooting. Most of the answers are hidden in the logs, but there'll be millions of logs sometimes, and if you are good at your job, you should be knowing like which log to look for, right? And then looking at their environment configuration, looking at where the bottlenecks are, we continue our troubleshooting. Many a times we have to reproduce the issue in our local environment as well. So we have to
Okay.
spin up the, let's say, a GKE cluster, or spin up the services which is similar to what customer is hosting in their environment, and then we host our workload in that test environment, and based on that we try to reproduce the issue. If that is a possible bug, we could provide them a workaround if it is available, or we actually involve our product team, who are the
Mm.
actual developers of that particular service or product. So they either provide a hot fix, they provide a patch, or they provide a workaround, or they provide, like, if it is something that has minimum impact or no impact, so that could be a feature request that to be included in the future releases. So these are some of the few processes that we follow. Based on that, we help them provide the solution that they are looking for.
So, next question is for beginners looking to enter the DevOps. So, which cloud would you recommend? AWS, GCP, or Azure, and why?
For that, I have created a separate video. I will share you the link, but because
Mm-hmm.
there are so many factors that you have to consider, so what I would say, watch that video.
Okay.
If I
Mm-hmm.
have to provide you answer in brief, I would say the reason that if you are a beginner and trying to enter into the cloud, and if your reason for learning the cloud is to get a job in cloud, then
Mm-hmm.
do a quick search on the job portal that you follow, be it LinkedIn jobs or Naukri, Monster, whatever. Search the keyword, let's say AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, or GCP in your area, and see the number of openings that are there. The more the number of openings, the more your chances of getting higher. So that would increase the odds. I was looking at the recent trend. Earlier, it was because this was a no-brainer. Earlier, AWS was the market leader. So if you are beginner to cloud, this is where you should start from. But now the situation has completely changed. If you look at the stats, if you do a search that I've just mentioned, you will find that Azure has the maximum number of opening than GCP, than AWS. So based on that, you decide which cloud you should be going ahead with, whether you will be going ahead who's the market leader for quite some time, but it has a
Mm-hmm.
less number of jobs. And because AWS is there for really a long time, the longest time of among all the clouds, there is a lot of expertise already in the market. So you'll be competing with that expertise. If you go ahead with either Azure or GCP, GCP and Azure, these are fairly new. If we compare it to AWS, plus there are more number of openings in the market. So based on that, you can take your decision which cloud. Although AWS is beginner friendly, that's what people say, but it's more or less the same thing, like whichever cloud you should go. I hope I was able to
Yeah.
answer your question, but
Yeah.
to brief it, the cloud that has more number of openings, this is what you should be going with.
Next thing is how to prepare resume for DevOps role. Like how, what kind of project we can add.
Okay, so for
Because
that also, I recently prepared a video. There is a GitHub repository as well. So this is the roadmap that I have recently published for anyone who's looking to get into cloud and DevOps. So start with the foundation.
okay.
Start with Linux, shell scripting, Python, or Golang, Git and GitHub. These things. These are the basic foundational. Then go like to the
Mm-hmm.
next phase, which is the core IT skill, like how computer works, how two computer or two machines in an internet interact with each other, which is laid down in OSI model. All the protocols that are there in OSI model, all the devices or all the features of each of those layers in depth, how DNS work, how scaling works, and all those things. And then start with the cloud. Don't directly jump into cloud or DevOps. First lay down these fundamentals and then start with the cloud, either of these three. And these three are based on So the video that I'm referring to, it's there in this GitHub repository. If you scroll down, there's a video which cloud you should go ahead with as a beginner. So
Yeah.
go
It's
down.
loud.
Yeah,
Mm,
this
yeah.
one over
Yes.
here. Yes, yeah. So in this video, I have explained it, which cloud you should go with. So you can take the
Mm-hmm.
link from here, and it's okay. You
Okay.
don't have to play it now. And if you go back, yeah. So that's where the phase 3 is. In phase 4, you start with the DevOps. So
DevOps tool.
start with
Mm.
Jenkins, and then along with Jenkins, you should be get a good hands-on on any of the modern CI/CD tools such as GitHub or Azure DevOps or GitLab CI/CD. Then go with Docker and Kubernetes, Terraform, and then monitoring tools Prometheus, Grafana, EFK, and then configuration management tool, which is Ansible. Then the next phase
Okay.
is working on the project. So there are some examples of projects here. 3-tier architecture, Kubernetes setup and upgrade using Terraform, GitOps using Argo CD in Kubernetes, serverless CI/CD, monitoring, alerting, and so on. For projects as well, I have shared the link in this repo at the very bottom, which
Okay.
will take you to 10 weeks of CloudOps repository. Go a little up. Yeah, in
Yeah,
this.
projects.
Yeah,
Mm.
there is the repo link. So this
Mm.
repo has around 8 projects. The first one is a simple one, which is beginner friendly, and after that, it will be intermediate and advanced level project that you can work on, that you can add in your resume and so on.
Next question is like you have been a AWS community builder for multiple years. So how have these roles contributed to your professional growth? Like you said before that Google.
Mm.
Yes. So like I said, Google
Mm.
gives a lot of
Also.
value on your open source
Mm.
contribution or any tech community contribution, right? Before joining
Mm.
the Google, I was AWS community builder. So I was actively contributing to AWS community. So that added a lot of value to my resume. It helped my resume stand a little apart from the crowd, right? So these contribution really help you. Plus, when you are helping someone, when you are sharing some the repositories of tutorials or
Mm.
anything like that, so it will help you be better at your skill as well. It will help you upskill yourself, because when you know something, then you know to a limited extent to whatever you require for your job. But when you are teaching someone something through a tutorial or anything like that, you dig deep into that, because you
Yeah.
would never know when someone asks you a question, so you should be in the position to answer that. So those things helps you grow technically, professionally. Plus it helps you, add some value to your resume as well. And the person that is hiring you see a value in you, like when they onboard you, this is what you can bring to the table. If you are doing a lot of community contribution, that means you will also be actively engaged in empowering your teammates and the people within your organization. And it could be,
Yeah. Mm.
training sessions, it could be creating playbooks, it could be creating internal documents and SOPs, many others. So there is a lot of value in that. And yeah, so that's what I would suggest.
Yeah. There's a quote also that the best way to learn is to teach others.
Yeah, true.
So you are doing very good on YouTube. So tell us about your YouTube channel. What inspired you to start it, and what kind of content do you focus on?
So I actually, like, the reason why I started, because I was like 3.5 years back. It was a freelancing gig that I got on AWS, and I was working for a fintech based startup in Canada itself. And
Mm-hmm.
so they had some requirements. They had some use cases that I implemented for them. And then I thought, these are the actual enterprise use cases, even for a startup, but these are actual use cases that a company implement. And
Mm-hmm.
I found a lot of difficulties in finding out the tutorials or the step by step guide outside on the internet, right? So that's when I thought, okay, let try to create a blog out. So I was planning to create
Okay.
a blog. Then the project was so large. It was like the blog was going above 5,000 words, 10,000 word. And then I thought, no one's gonna read that, and there was a lot
Mm-hmm.
of work in that. And I thought, why don't I just record it on a screen recording
Mm.
session, and instead of writing, I can just record my audio. That's I can do that. So with that thought, I just started the channel, and that was the first video that I published. And then I published few other use cases that I implemented, and then I started enjoying. Then I thought maybe I stop publishing the random videos about the project, and and I start creating some playlists out of it. So that's when I move from one phase to another, from those projects to project related playlist. So the 10 weeks of cloud ops that I have shown you, so that
Mm.
was, so there is a entire playlist for that. Then I have published Jenkins playlist, I have published GitLab tutorials, I have published Azure DevOps series, and recently I published Kubernetes series, which was a big hit, right? So I started with that thought and I started enjoying it. I never really had a vision or a goal to get 100K subscriber or that many subscribers. My goal was simple. My goal was to publish the valuable content, and if that ends up adding some subscriber, that's good, that's good enough for me, and I will just enjoy the process, and I still enjoy the process. So that's what I do. I mean, it
That,
it takes a lot of time to manage a YouTube channel, especially when it is in tech, where
mm,
you are just not randomly talking about that topic. You are doing your thorough research, you are practicing it, you are doing the hands on demo, and then you are giving that knowledge to someone. Plus after that there'll be editing, because this is not a 50-20 minutes video that we are talking about. My videos goes
yes.
anywhere from 30 minutes to 60 minutes, 80 minutes, 90 minutes. There is no upper limit to that. So it takes a lot of time to publish even a single video. So I enjoyed, that's why I'm able to continue for the past 3 years, and I'll keep doing it.
So, how has working in Canada been different from working in India, both culturally and professionally?
Yeah, I would say there is a lot of cultural difference over here. Like, I don't work past my office hours.
Mm,
Sometimes I work on weekend, but for that is pre-planned. I can always say no, and I get a day in lieu for the day I work. So there
mm,
is, yes, comp off, and I get the benefits are better. Plus there is a work-life balance that you get, that I've just told you, right? We don't have to
yeah.
work past our office hours. So that's the thing that I found missing over there. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. Work culture is pretty much the same. I guess that was the most important difference. But other than that, it totally depends on company to company. Yeah.
So, what are some challenges you faced when moving abroad, and any tips for others considering moving to Canada?
I mean, the challenges that I face would be totally different with the challenges that
Mm.
someone will face if they move today, right? There are different challenges. There are lack of jobs for freshers nowadays. There are not
It,
as many opportunities as it was there before.
Nowadays, rent are higher in Canada. Is it true?
Inflation is at
mm,
its peak, so everything is costly nowadays. So if you don't have a job, it's hard to survive in today's economy. So everything is costly, from insurance to your grocery to your taxes. Everything is costly nowadays. The challenges that I faced was mostly with the weather. Like, for almost 6 months a year, it's completely covered in snow, and sometimes it's really bad. Many a times there are winter storms where you cannot even step out of your home. You have to clean, once that storm is done, you have to clean your driveway and everything with the shovel. So these are the some challenges. The other challenges are, there is no house help, so you have to do everything on your own. Or if you can afford, there'll be a lot of wages that you have to pay. So it's really costly if you afford a house help or for anything, right? Getting grocery delivered, it's such a task. So we have to take an hour or couple of hours every weekend to do the grocery. In India, I know you just blink it and within 10
yeah.
minutes you get it delivered at your home. It's not the way here right now.
Okay.
So yeah, so there are definitely some challenges. There are some good perks. There are some challenges, but yeah, it's all part of the package.
What are some perks, if you say, in Canada?
Perks are, I would say, the schooling is free for kids, healthcare is
Mm,
free. There is no privatization of healthcare. So most of the things are covered in your health card, right? That's provided by the
mm,
government. So you get free healthcare. It does not include the medicines, but it includes all the doctor consultations, specialist consultations, and it includes many other things. And rest is covered by your employer insurance. So you don't
okay.
have to pay a penny out of your pocket for any health related thing. So that's a good thing. The other thing is insurances are very high. So that's the bad thing. So for
Okay.
example, I pay $400 per month just for my car insurance. That's crazy, right?
Oh
So
my gosh. Mm,
yeah, that's crazy. Sometimes it's equivalent to your car EMI.
yeah.
That's one of the challenge. The other good thing is the summers are really good and happening. There is greenery all around. There are a lot of places you can visit. You can go for hike. You can go for camping. Those things are very organized. So overall, it a mix of both the things. Some things are good. Some things are not as good. It depends like what's your priorities are.
So, next thing is, what advice would you give to a student interested in DevOps?
Okay, I would say don't rush into the thing. The roadmap that I share, it could take 6 months to 1 year. Sometimes it could take more than that. Or
Okay.
someone who is, really good in their foundational knowledge, someone has a good understanding, good background, then they could also do that in 3 to 6 months. But don't restrict yourself to a timeline. Okay. Don't rush into the things. Make sure your fundamentals are clear. Don't directly rush into the hype. Okay. So if you see everywhere there is Kubernetes, there is Terraform, don't directly jump
Mm,
into Kubernetes and Terraform. Make sure you do your homework before that. Make sure you understand all the prerequisites before that and then start with that. These tools are not going anywhere. Spend some time, do the hands on, and don't just write create notes, or don't just watch videos. Build your project, include in your resume, and make sure that you are presentable enough. So, getting skills is one thing, but then you have to showcase your skills as well. Otherwise, recruiter or hiring
mm,
manager wouldn't know that you have those skills. So, make sure that
yes.
you have a good social presence on LinkedIn, Twitter, and these social media platforms. Make sure you share some valuable content that can be helpful to others. Okay, don't just copy paste someone else post and do it for likes and followers. Don't do that. That will add some followers, but it would not add the valuable connection that you are looking for. Valuable connections will only happen when you share something valuable, when you share something that is worth for someone. Okay, so these are all the things that I would say. Okay, don't compare your journey with someone else's. Everyone has a different journey. If someone got into a fang within college itself, doesn't mean that you are lacking behind. Everyone has their own journey, and everyone has their own definition of success. My definition of success could be different than your definition of success. So decide your definition and work according to that. Don't rush into things. So only these are the advices that I would give.
So, any tips for managing certifications, or there is a necessity of certification or not?
Or not?
I would say certifications are good if you want to. Again, certifications are not mandatory, but it would add
Mm,
some credibility to your resume. The same thing that projects do, the same thing that community contribution do. So if you think you have a solid resume, maybe you don't need certification. If you think you have an
okay.
average resume, yes, try to add a couple of certifications. Try to add at least one associate level certification in the cloud that you are learning, and one
Mm,
specialty certifications such as certified Kubernetes administrator. So that should be more than
okay.
enough. But for college student, I would say just associate level certification would also be good enough.
So, one last question. So, what are your thoughts on the potential of AI and its impact on like DevOps or other fields?
I would say, AI is more of a companion rather than a competition. Yes,
Mm,
there'll be the jobs that will become obsolete, and it always happen no matter if this AI will come into the picture, something else would have come. When
yes.
computers were first invented, there were many jobs that became obsolete. But think about the jobs that were obsolete. Those were the mundane job, those were the jobs that does not require any special skills, that can easily be automated with the help of technology. The same is
Mm.
happening with AI, and same will keep happening. The jobs that does not require a lot of logical thinking, that requires you to run some repetitive tasks, that can easily be automated, that can easily be incorporated into AI. So for that, we can only do one thing: we can only prepare for the future, we can only focus on upskilling ourselves, so that
Mhm.
we have that knowledge and we have that skill that cannot be easily replaced, and then we can make use of AI to make ourselves better. Instead of just getting afraid from AI, we can treat that as a companion, and we can try to learn AI to improve our workflow, to improve our skills. So that's what I would say.
So at last, if you want to say something,
Um, I guess I have shared a lot of things.
this
Yeah.
is
So,
yeah.
no, I mean nothing much from my side. Just keep upskilling, keep yourself up to date with the market. That's the way to go. And it's not just when you're looking for the job. Like, I have not been looking for the job for past many years. I am settled. I am happy with what I'm doing. Still, I try
Mhm.
to keep myself upskilled every now and then. I keep learning new things. I keep doing certifications. I keep working on new tools and technologies, because this is the future that we want to build for ourselves. We don't want to be irrelevant in the market in terms of skills. We want to be up to date with the latest cutting tools and technologies. So upskilling is important even when you are not looking for the job. So
So that's it. Thanks to Pius, and it's pleasure talking to you.
thank you, Mohit, for
Thank you so much.
inviting me. It was pleasure talking to you as well. Thank you.